Oh, hey, just building some decks. How y'all doing today? So I was scrolling through Twitter, as people sometimes do, and I had a reply to a tweet from Sasarai, and he said, I got a big issue right now because I have so many cards now that I don't really know how to build a deck, and now I'm like confused. So before I kind of had an idea because I had only a few cards, but now I'm kind of just throwing random crap together and like got some units in there, got some actions in there, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So I thought it's the perfect time to create a deck building video because I make a lot of decks for the channel, so hopefully I kind of know what I'm doing. So welcome to Deck Building 101. So the first thing you need to know is there are 3 ways to approach deck building. The first is probably the most common. You start with a theme or a concept, and then you just build your whole deck around that. So things like Slow Purple, Red Humans. These are decks that are taking a theme like Red Humans and just applying all the synergies that exist within there, or the slow mechanic in Purple, and trying to figure that out and make it work. And then once that core is built, you add in the extra stuff around it to just make it jive. So that's how most decks are built. We've also got way number 2, which is you start with a card or a combo of cards that works really well, and you build your whole deck around that. Now in the past, we have a really good example with Sigma, but Sigma just rotated out. So there were decks that used Sigma because it had infinite revenge, which means you could just always get it. So you would build your deck to search out Sigma easily, and then use cards like Malice, Possessing Malice, which would destroy it and make another one. So now you'd have 2 Sigmas, and then you just use those 2 Sigmas to win the game. And everything else in the deck was either to help you get Sigma, help you copy Sigma like Possessing Malice, or just to help you live to get you going. So that is way number 2. You pick a card or a combo of cards that you think is awesome, and you just, everything else goes in, funnels in on that interaction on that card. And the third way, which is the easiest and the one that I would recommend to pretty much everyone, and which is what I do a lot of times as well, is you modify an existing deck. So you take a deck that you see online, you either play that deck verbatim and be like, I don't really like some of the cards, you swip them out. Or for beginners, you might be like, well, I don't have that epic card, and if it's not like a key part of the strategy, so I'm going to go back to Slow Purple as an example, there are some cards you just need, like Setsuna, which gives all your slow units agility, and you need Morimoto because he pulls out units and gives them slow. Now you might be able to skirt your way by without the other slow units, because you could just play any 3 costs for Morimoto to pull out. But it might not be as effective, but it's about making those replacements, and by doing that you get an idea of what cards are good, what cards are bad, and that sort of thing. But I think that's the best way to go. It's the best for people who are low on time, people who don't really know what they're doing. So that's what I would recommend. You find a deck, you try it out, and if you don't like it, you just change some cards in there. You don't have to scrap the concept entirely. So once you've decided how you're going to build your deck, you need to know the steps to deck building. It's very simple. First, you create a first draft. Basically, you just throw in all the cards that you think might be useful. This doesn't apply for step 3, where you just build on an existing one, because that's your first draft. And then you play some test games. Maybe 3 to 5 games. Don't change anything yet, because you might not know exactly how everything works. If you play one game, you're like, man, that card sucked in this game. But maybe it was just that game, and in other games it was fantastic. So you play a few test games. Figure out what you like, what you don't like. And then step 3, you replace some of those cards that aren't performing as well as you'd like. So a perfect example of this replacing cards that aren't performing I have is in my previous video, the day 1 decks, the red deck. I was playing the 1 MP action, which upgrades your quest unit, and that card, while great, I never found a situation where I was like, I really need to level up my quest unit, and there are times when it was just stuck in my hand because all my quest units were totally leveled up. I couldn't even get it out of my hand. So I ended up replacing it with Sneak Attack because most of my units had enemy hero takes damage as they level up. So it satisfies the same goal, but also doesn't get stuck in my hand and provides an additional effect. And the 4th most important step is that you just repeat steps 2 and 3, play test games, replace cards, until you're happy. It's not like a one and done thing. A lot of the decks, you know, you'll see people have been trying out a lot of cards, and this is an ongoing process. I mean, people don't really stop doing this. Especially people that stick to one deck, they play it a lot, and then as other decks get popular, some decks fade in popularity. They're like, you know, things have changed a little bit, these cards are not as good as they used to be, let's swap them out. So now that you have a methodology for building a deck, we're gonna go ahead and build a deck, go through the process here in this video. And our goal for today is to create a 2-color flight aggro deck, because there's a lot of flight units and it's just something I wanted to do, haven't tried out yet. So we're starting with a theme and a concept. We're going for flight units. We want to be aggro, we want to try to win games quickly. It's not going to be around any specific cards, and it's not going to modify an existing deck. All right, now we're going to go into step 1, creating the first draft. We're just going to choose Shinku Hadoken here as our hero art, because it doesn't really matter what hero art we're going to choose. We need to figure out what cards we want to use first, and then we'll figure out the hero arts and the colors later. So I've got it filtered all for legendaries right now. That's not useful. We're on standard, and the most important thing, because we're making a flight aggro deck, is the flight. So let's see what we've got here. So in red, we've got Bomber, pretty nice. Quest, it's got a little bit of control there too, but really the rest of the red cards, you know, they're really high cost things like Rathalos and Rathalos Can Marry, which are very strong cards, but kind of tough to utilize in a dual color deck unless you're going the like full red-green legendary aggro decks that you've seen. So I'll keep it in mind, but I'm not too fond of what red's looking like right now, other than Bomber. So if there's a lot of good support from red, maybe we could do that. Let's check out green. Oh, green's got nothing, so skip. So purple, I think, is going to be one of our key colors because they've got a lot of flight cards, right? We've got blue Cyclops, but he's slow, so I'm not a slow deck and an aggro thing. You know, I'm not really sure unless we end up going for the slow purple thing and giving him agility, but that's really just a modification of the slow deck, and that's not what we're here for. We've got Lilith, which is pretty good, but we have to gain life, and it's a 2/3, so not really sounding like aggro stuff. We've got Fairy, which is a 1/7 flight, and it's just gonna help us cycle through our deck and make some things cheaper. So I'm down for Fairy. Let's add 3 of those. We've got Ripper, which is a flight 3/2, explores for blind, which reduces the enemy attack, which could keep our units alive a little bit longer. So let's add that in. Mostly just looking for flight cards right now. We've kind of gone through most of the colors, so we know one of the colors is going to be purple or black for sure. And we've got Devil Trigger, which gives flight and agility. I'm not sure about this because it's really only going to give agility, so we'll keep it out for now. And then one of the things that you'll know after building a lot of decks, especially 2-color decks, is you gotta stay on the cheap side. Since you're capped at 5 MP, I really don't want to be playing 4-cost, 5-cost units unless those cards can basically win the games for me by themselves. So that's really all we got to work on right now, because these cards are too expensive. So let's see if black has anything for us. We've got Crow, which is pretty nice. We've got Solo, which becomes a 4/5 when we have really low life, but I don't know about that. Remember, it's 4 cost, so it's really got to be doing big things to get us through here. And same with Durian. This card's a great card, but I don't know. Is it game winning for us? I'm not so sure. Same with the Spy Copter, but there is a lot more flight actions here, or flight units here, that we might be able to take advantage of. So I'm not really sure where to proceed. I think I'm going to start with red, just because of these cards and the 5 costs. You know, the Rathalos cards are really strong, so we might be able to put in a few of them as kind of like ways to really close out the games. Okay, got a little bit too carried away here, so we're gonna go with flight. We're gonna add our bombers, and so now we've got 9 units in there. I do want a few more just to like be good. So we're gonna add the Rathalos Can Marry, because I suspect being able to smash our hero art quickly is gonna be a big deal. And then we're gonna go for maybe 2 Wrath. This is gonna bring us up to 12 unit cards, which might be a little bit high for an aggro deck, because aggro decks, especially dual color decks, tend to be action heavy just for the sake of utilizing their MP effectively. So we'll just start off with there. We can obviously actually, we'll just go ahead and add the last Rathalos. So these are basically all the strong flight cards that I can think of that we've got access to. So I was actually rethinking things. So we're gonna actually look at black as well. We've got 3 colors in here right now. We're gonna need to reduce one of them, but we'll take a look at what we can reduce by checking out the support cards, right? Because we really are limited to 1 cost, 2 cost support cards just to be efficient as a 2-color deck. So we really got to get our bang for our buck, and I'm really only including the flying units that I think are worth our time for all 3 of these colors. So let's check out our buffs, because I think our buffs are going to be the most important. So we're going to search by pluses. Black has phenomenal buffs. Typically, we've got Heartless Experiment, and we've got Cycle Power. These are kind of the classic aggro cards that black has access to. We'll see if they've got anything else. We have Broodslayer's Oracle, but we don't want to be losing our units. We want to try to keep them alive as much as possible. And that's kind of all we got for black. We might want to add in some destruction. This could be nice, right? The high altitude attack giving us some rush things, but you know what? It's a buff. We'll do it right there. And we get crushed if we're low on life, which we might be if we continue to add some life sacrificing stuff into our deck. What is this one? 1 MP for 1/1. We could think about it, but not really what we're doing. We're not getting any evidence so far. So let's see if purple has anything for us in terms of pluses. Setsuna, of course, is going to be working for slow, but we've got no slow. We've got Z Saber, which has this way too much memory. I don't want to deal with that. So we got some damage. We got Skylark, which gives slow, which is going against what we want, unless we start going the slow route. But again, that's not what we're here for. We have Midnight Encounter, giving a flight and shield, which is actually really nice. But we don't get the present, so we don't get any evidence. So I'm not really into any of the purple buffs. So we'll see if red's got any. I keep ruining my search. See what red's got. Red has this one, +1/+1 to friendly human units. It's pretty strong, especially in the Rathalos Awoken, or like the Wrath Awoken decks. But we only have 1 human in our creature so far, so that's not going to cut it. This one going to give +1 attack. Of course, no evidence again there. Riding the giant weapon could be good, but our units are pretty low attack, so I'm not really seeing much in. This one's actually pretty solid. This red one right here. So give 2 random units +1 attack. We're probably gonna have quite a few units on the field, and maybe we want 1 or 2 more. So let's just throw it in for now. It also isn't red only, which is something that a lot of cards like this one for example, random red unit in hand. It has to be red units that can brick us up. It's not what we want. So the next thing we want to look into is either disruption or protection for our unit. So we're just going to skim through things here and see what might be useful. Shadow Clones lets us move our unit, so if they're going for a big blocker, we want to get our guy out of the way. Could be really solid right there. But other than that, I think red's probably going to be a little bit lacking in terms of 1 and 2 cost actions for protection. So this one is moving as well. There's 1 card that I think could be solid, which is Rekindling of Life, which lets us return a monster back and reduce its MP cost. And that's going to let us reuse Rathalos, Marys, things like that, and Bombers and Rathaloses, but that's the only monster. So it's limited to 2 small of our unit pool, so I don't really want it. So red is kind of losing out. They're winning in the unit department, but really everything else is kind of rough. So let's get them out of the picture. For purple, we've got a lot of utility. Foresight gonna let us dig through our deck quicker if we want that. For protection, we can go up into 2 cost protection, 3 cost protections like negates, things like that. We do want to look at those eventually, but we're gonna keep it simple, and we'll see in our games what we need to add in right in the future. So purple looking like it's got a lot of stuff to help us cycle. Some negates here. If we have a lot of questing, we could go for the Sown in Sand, like you saw in the level up quest combination deck. So far not seeing anything too crazy. I know that there's a return our own unit, but locking enemy board slot, not sure if we want that. This is actually an interesting form of protection, because if they try to destroy, we can copy their unit instead, but it's friendly purple only, so I want to try to keep things versatile. We're going to skip over that. We got Sleep. This card's actually really good. It's like super good, so don't sleep on this card. And let's see, Venom Breath, 1 damage enemy unit. That's kind of protection. Well, it's rather destruction in a weird way. And then Fateful Choice, which if we play a few quest cards, really we only have, probably gonna have 6, so I don't like Fateful Choice. But Birth of Dragon, now that we're looking through this, when an active response count is 3 or more, place a Session Whelp on the field, which has Resonate. It's a flying unit. Basically, is going to help us counter destruction spells. So let's plop that in there, and we could potentially reduce our unit count now because we have those as well. So black doesn't have a ton of protection if I remember correctly. We can return monsters to our hand. Could be useful. We get destruction, get some extra removal in there. But I think that's really all we got for protection. This card's a great removal card. So I am now kind of in line with, we got Birth of the Dragon to help us replace. Black obviously has the best aggressive buffs, so we're going to go purple-black. So let's get all these red cards out of here. So I'd like a little bit of extra removal in here just to deal with things that we just don't want to deal with, right? And maybe a few more cheap purple actions to help get us cycling. So that's kind of like my game plan right now. We'll find a few cards that satisfy that. We could bring back Defects. Could that be useful at all to us? Potentially. Let's go ahead and get some. I think this is a good one. I mean, we might not have a lot of open slots, so it's just going to be a 1 MP to get 2 HP. It's going to be a nice little buff for our units. And as well as, let's just add in Foresight, just get through our deck a little bit quicker. So that's looking like a deck so far. We'll see how it goes. We'll try it out. We need to find a hero art now too, of course. So for the hero art, we're looking at purple and black. We get a few options here, right? We can go for Dark Destruction, giving us some removal. We can go for Spike Dive Bomb to get some beefy hits in there. And we can go for Ashura Senku, giving us some protection, which could be good. I need to think about that. We got Fight Against Inner Demons, give us some utility, some extra buffs. We got Tenkuha, which is going to give us +2 attack and combo. We can revive our guys with Despair, Wail, and Perish, which could be really frustrating. Just get a bunch of flight revivals and your opponent just like takes a bunch of damage. So I'm going to keep this in mind for sure. Gives us some long game. And I don't really think Ada's doing anything for us. But I'm going to start with Tenkuha because we're trying to close games quickly. Getting that +2 attack and combo just lets us just demolish opponents quickly. So I got version 1 of the deck. We're going to go take it for a few practice games, and I'll let you know how it did. Alright, so we played a few games with the version 1, and there are some clear issues with the deck that you saw, right, from some of the clips. We're just clogged on units, clogged on effects, so we need to make some changes there. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to go back, edit deck. Let's start with a copy of V1, rename it V2. Let's give it some updates, and then we'll go back into it again. So the first thing I notice is Foresight is nice, but our pocket gets filled up pretty quick just from the Explorers and other things. But I think we'll remove some of the Explorers, so we'll be okay there. Memory Control locking up our board while being a nice little buff for 1 is just too much, so that's got to go. We also have way too many units, so I'm sorry, I think I'm gonna have to take out Ripper. It's just the kind of least stat efficient unit that we've got, and I just want to get it out of there. And that should open us up for more uses of Birth of the Dragon, which is really just a pressuring card that the opponent does not want to see you have when you play an action and they respond to it. So I think that should be a solid there. So we got 6 slots, and I don't really know what to do with it. You know what happened? There was one game we lost to a superpowered Otani, so I want to get in a destruction effect. So I'm going to search by 3. And hopefully that will give us, we need to expand to 3 and 4 costs. I don't really want to do 4 costs, but we could do something cheaper. So we could use something like Overpower, which returns a 3 cost MP unit back to the EX pocket. I'm thinking about that. So let's just add in 2 of those. Might not be the ideal thing that we want to use, but it could be there. Let's get in some negates there. We'll get some negates afterwards. I want to put in 2 negates for sure. So there are cards like Demonic Intimidation, which can do 4 costs or less, but I don't know if that's super necessary. This one could be pretty good because it costs 3. It could destroy up to a 5 cost if we're in a really bad spot. So I think we'll try that instead of Demonic Intimidation. But since we're playing that, do we really need... we'll just try both. We'll see which one's better. And then let's get into negates, because I think that will be a nice little update too. Negate. Now, what negate do we want? In the past, you might use something that buffs your own units, but I think we can do some fake intel. We should have a decent number of units on the field, but it could be bad. So let's just do a nice and easy 2 unforeseen interference. I just don't want to play any games. So this is what our deck's looking like now. We got Overpower now, which should help us return things on the cheap. We've got our DFX Storm, which is going to help us get out of those tricky spots, gives us more removal for 3 costs or less. But if we're in a really bad spot, our life goes down way too much, then we do have the 5 cost destruction available to us. And then, of course, some negate action there too, just to help out a bit. I think Hidden Intent might actually synergize a bit more with getting our life low, but we do have a lot of sacrifice HP cards, so actually maybe we try that out. It's also only 2 costs. Let's just give it a shot. This is what it's about, is just testing, seeing what things work, what things don't work, and if we just are losing too much life, then we're losing too much life. That's V2. All right, we played some test games with version 2. Let's see how we're feeling. I still feel like Foresight, I gave it a bit more tries. It still feels like I got clogged up a little bit, so I definitely want to at least drop it, if not remove it. I don't think the high altitude attacks are that great. They just kind of get in there. It is kind of useful, but not super useful, since we're like losing out on the crush. So if I could replace that with another buff, I might consider doing that instead. Overpower it got clogged in my hand a few times, so I think I would put that at 1. Maybe that will change as the meta evolves. And then I actually really liked the combination of DFX Storm and Hidden Intent. And I think Hidden Intent gets like better as you get lower on life because you're losing less life. So I'm not really sure where to go with that. So I think there are a few games where like I wanted to negate early and then it just destroyed me. And then I like lost super quickly because of that. So I think for the sake of safety, I might take that out for now. So let's put together a version 3. We'll play one game with it and see how it goes. If we win, it was a success. If we lose, it was a failure. Maybe not, but this is the iterative process. We'll see what we can do. Get an R deck V2, rename it V3, boom, and then let's edit decks. Let's just straight up let's get rid of one overpower. We said that. And then we'll replace the Hidden Intents. I really like having a negate at 2 MP. That was really nice. And we're going to get rid of the high altitude attacks too. And then the DFX Storms, I think they can stay because they did pretty well. And if we're in a spot where we really like getting our butt whooped, then they'll probably come into play anyway. And then at least one Foresight goes out. So now we got a lot. We got a lot here. I don't even know what to do with this. This one... No, because I don't want to lock my board slots. Gosh, okay, well, we need some negates back in because we took out the other ones. And I want to play 2 negates, I think. So let's just go with the tried and true unforeseen interference. That should be good there. Let's get another buff in because we did lose the, whatchamacallit? The one that gives us rush, which was kind of nice, but it just... It was rough because with the low unit count, we didn't always have a unit in our hand, you know what I'm saying? And it sacrifices 2 life, not 3 life, so it doesn't even activate our Agrarian. So I didn't really like that either. That's a pretty nice buff, but it costs 2 and it's delayed, so I don't really like that. Ugh. This one, give 1 5 or less, 5 HP plus 1. Okay, but are we leveling up enough? I'm not paying attention, so we might have to see if we're leveling up enough to make use of that one. Okay, just looking through my options, kind of not too excited about what we have available for us. So I definitely don't want to play just give 1 HP. That just feels bad. 1 tack. Maybe we just need some more, but I don't feel like we need more removal options. I feel like we just beat people down in the air. That's been good enough, except for those really bad situations. But maybe we could just get some extra reach in there when we need it. Deal damage to enemy hero. Do we have any? Can we do anything like that? I think we can with Photo on the Scene and Simoon. We could consider those guys. Kind of thinking about it. Let's just let's slap in 3 of those. Let's see how they do. Just give us a little bit of extra reach. If we're in a really bad spot, we just managed to get our opponent down to like just low enough life. We can just blast them in the face directly. That seems reasonable, actually. And see, all these guys, they do 1 damage to enemy hero. Maybe we just add in a little bit of extra reach. Also sacrifices 3 life, which does activate Agrarians, which I kind of would like some more things for that. So yeah, let's give this a shot. I mean, it's a different take. There's going to be a little bit less buffs, but hopefully less dead cards. The final game of the video. Can we do it? What is this deck building session going to be a success? It all depends on this match. Am I a gamer or am I a lamer? Metsu Shoryuken. Okay, interesting. They might have some tricky stuff for us. So, this, I don't mind actually. We got Crows. They can be aggressive on the get-go. We got DFX Storm, which does give us a little, like, a way out if, like, something really bad happens. And now we can just save up for the Agrarian. I should have blocked that. But I kind of like, I wanted the Agrarian. I wanted this one so that I could go for this. And then, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I should just have blocked it. What was I doing? What was I doing? So this is good because he was like, all right, we got to get some extra in there. So let's just use our blue MP. But now we get another unit. We get another unit off that. And we're big chilling now. Now we have 1 MP. We got the counter, which is going to be good. And we're not going to be losing like a dummy amount of stuff because of the counter. And what are we doing here? This is actually a 6, which is really unfortunate. But we can just go ahead and block it anyway. Get a big fatso up top. And I'll let that die again down on the bottom. And we'll go for a block with a little slow there, I'll admit. I will admit. And that's gonna quest up. I don't like that. So I think I want to use this, but I don't really want to use it. So we'll just let it go. And all right, nice. So he should be wanting to get up to. Ooh, okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go on the bottom because I think he's not gonna expect that. And there we go. It's a success, baby. It's a success. So this is the final build that we're gonna settle with today. We'll keep improving it maybe throughout the week. So come back maybe at the end of the month. I don't know. Here's a QR code if you do want to try this one out. It's pretty cheap actually, right? We're only using no legendaries and 3 epics. A very, very affordable deck for you all if you want to try it out. Here's a QR code again. Try it out. If you got some upgrades, then you can send me the upgrades on Twitter. At me in one of the Discord channels on the TEPPEN community Discord. We can work on this together. Make it a team project. It'll be kind of fun. And as you can see, I think like outside the kind of core cards, your units, the Birth of the Dragons, your buffs with Heartless Experiment and Psycho Power, the other cards are very interchangeable. I mean, I got that win. We did have photo of the scene there, so in case we kind of got on the back foot, then we did have some reach there. We didn't even draw Simoon. The Foresight, we could have played it, but we didn't even play that either. So a lot of these like extra utility cards, they're very versatile. You could change them up based on your play style, but make sure to keep them low cost because you are a dual colored deck. We also could try out some new hero arts too. And remember, I was thinking about trying out Despair, Wail, and Perish, which I think could actually work pretty well. So I do kind of want to try that if I feel like the meta changes where there's just a ton of destruction and we just can't keep a field going. Maybe you just bring it all back with Despair and win the game with that way. So that could be interesting too. A lot of ideas going through my head. I gotta stop rambling. I hope you enjoyed the video. Helped improve your deck building just a smidgen. It's all about playing, being like, maybe that didn't work, let's change it up. Maybe that didn't work, change it up, and keep going until you are happy. But maybe you'll just never be happy because you always gotta keep doing that little improvement. So you decide where to stop, where the deck building fun ends. Until the next video, keep on learning, having some fun with me here on the Durian channel. And 2 pretty long videos, I think. So I appreciate you sticking around, making it this far. You the best, and I'll see you around. Peace. Stoop, 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 stoop. Is that 4 or less? No, that's... My brain's confused. Oh!